Welcome back, Rebels, to the Rebel Report. We hope you've had a great spring break. My name is Amber Dameyer.
And my name is Ethan McCoy. Although campus may have been silent for students last week, sports was alive more than ever, and we have all the insight for you on today's show.
With our headlines today, the details of the Skating Rebels National Tournament.
An exclusive look into NFL free agency.
An exciting discussion panel giving you all the coverage on March Madness.
Rebel Report starts now. Former Las Vegas Raiders tight end Foster Moreau was recently diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. Upon engaging with the New Orleans Saints, their medical personnel discovered that he had contracted the disease, a type of cancer that attacks the body's immune system. Moreau called the news life-changing and added that he will now have to step away from football to fight the disease. We wish Foster Moreau and his family well and hope to see him back on the field as soon as possible. The Skating Rebels took on Liberty this past weekend as they fought to advance in the ACHA National Tournament. We have our very own Dominic Lavoie reporting.
Ethan, Amber, thank you. The UNLV Skating Rebels looked to the national tournament last week over spring break, entering as the 4th seed for the 2nd year in a row, but they're also looking to right their wrongs after giving up multiple unanswered goals in the semifinal game last year against the University of Central Oklahoma. And the Skating Rebels, they began play against the 13th seeded Grand Valley State Lakers, and the rookies would have to lead the squad in this one. After being down early, Jackson Wyatt, the freshman defenseman, would bury a rebound to tie the game up at 1, but GVSU would score 2 goals, and Caleb Strong, he'll fire that one home, bringing UNLV within 1 in that goal. And then this goal off the rush, Max Johnson feeds Caleb Strong, and he buries that one in tight, tying the game up at 3. Now we're going to have to go to time in this game where none other Rob McCollum, he let a shot go from the point. The puck found its way all the way through traffic into Twine. UNLV wins it in 4-3 in overtime, and they live to play another game.
We love our recruiting class that we had coming in last year, and we knew that they would play a big part in what we were doing both offensively and defensively. So for guys like Caleb and Jackson to step up when we really needed them to, it was great to see. And I think that we look forward to be able to lean on these guys pretty heavily in the upcoming years. But both of them took really big strides this year in their development, and I look forward to seeing how much further they go throughout the summer and moving into next year.
And off of the back of that one, UNLV will move on to an ever important game against the Liberty Flames, a rival, and in that game that will mark the Flames and Skating Rebels' 5th meeting this season. 3rd as well in a tournament setting. In their 2nd straight meeting at Nationals, UNLV would take the national game last season, but this game for the Skating Rebels would be bad off the jump. They go down 2-0 in the early stages of the game off of some bad bounces. You see that goal that gave Liberty the 2-0 lead, but Paxton Malone, the veteran, he buries that rebound in a surge by the Skating Rebels to bring them within 1 and try and keep their season alive. However, Liberty would bury an empty net goal, and Paxton Malone's goal would be too little, too late. Skating Rebels fall 3-1 to the Flames, effectively ending their season.
You have to be concentrating more on all the small aspects of the game because that's all it takes. It's one blown assignment here or there, and unfortunately, I think that we never really got in any type of rhythm at all offensively, and Liberty did a great job defensively on us. They clogged up the neutral zone well, and they were great in their D zone coverage. We have to score more than one goal to win a hockey game in my mind, and unfortunately, we weren't able to do that. And I thought their goal.
And that was assistant coach for the Skating Rebels, Nick Raboni. And Coach Raboni also told me the team intends to add depth scoring to the squad next season, as he and the rest of the UNLV coaching staff are happy with their defensive core and their goaltending situation. He also said the team is looking for more exhibition games against NCAA Division I teams next season. They play the University of Alaska Anchorage and the defending champion Denver Pioneers, all in a greater effort to catch the eye of Eric Harper and the UNLV athletic department. But Amber, Ethan, that's the latest on the Skating Rebels. Back to you.
Thank you, Dom. It is clear that the UNLV hockey team can look back into their incredible season with pride.
Now we skate into our next team, the Golden Knights, as they are looking to make a deep playoff run by acquiring a veteran goaltender, Jonathan Quick. Armani Lingo gives us a quick insight into Jonathan Quick's history with his former team and how he has produced with Vegas so far.
Jonathan Quick, a two-time Stanley Cup champion and Conn Smythe winner with the Los Angeles Kings, is now a member of the Vegas Golden Knights. Jonathan Quick was first traded to the Columbus Blue Jackets. Then the Knights traded with the Jackets to acquire Jonathan Quick. The Golden Knights have been hit hard with injuries in the goaltending department, as guys like Logan Thompson, Laurent Brossoit, and Adin Hill have been ruled out with injuries. Although it seems that Logan Thompson and Laurent Brossoit will return before the end of the season, until then, Jonathan Quick will be the man in net for the Vegas Golden Knights. Before being traded to Vegas, Jonathan Quick was struggling between the pipes for the Kings. Quick had a 3.5 goals against average and a .876 save percentage in 31 appearances for LA. Jonathan Quick statistically was below league average and was putting up career low numbers. However, since coming to Vegas, in the 6 games he has started as a Knight, Jonathan Quick is 5-1, has a shutout, and has bumped up his save percentage to .904%. If he can play anywhere close to that level down the stretch, Vegas will be set for a deep playoff run. If the cards are dealt right, Jonathan Quick could possibly play his former team in the playoffs. The Golden Knights currently sit first in the Western Conference, but right behind them is the Los Angeles Kings. Could we see Jonathan Quick take on his former team? And can Quick revive his season as a Golden Knight?
Thanks, Armani. Jonathan Quick continues to grow his name on and off the ice with high hopes in helping the Golden Knights achieve their goals in the playoffs.
While the Knights are on their way to the playoffs to try and clinch their first cup, the Henderson Silver Knights are also wrapping up their season in a different path. I went down to the Dollar Loan Center to cover last weekend's thriller of a game and their final stretch.
Net is empty for the Condors as we're under a minute to play in the third. Giveaway by the Condors all the way down. Rombjorg scores.
As the season for the Silver Knights is coming to an end with only 4 games left, the team last weekend might have had their best win yet, with a 5-3 comeback victory against the Bakersfield Condors. While the game started off slow, in the second period the Bakersfield Condors got the best of the Knights with a 2-goal lead from Griffith and Bailey. The game was leading towards Bakersfield. However, it would be Jake Bischoff with his 5th goal of the season that would really kickstart the Knights in the third. With 4 more goals to occupy the third, 2 from Mannanen, 1 from Smith, and an empty netter for Rombjorg. Coach Manny Viveros aired his opinions on how he felt the game went.
Really strange, hard to put exactly one finger on that. We got off to a really slow start tonight. And then the second period, I thought we just, okay, listen, we don't have it right now. Let's just try baby steps. Let's just get going here, get pucks in behind. Let's try to get on these guys. Let's go to the net with it. And that's how we started to get a little bit of momentum on. And then obviously we took some penalties that we didn't need to take.
With only 4 games left in the season, the Knights hope to end strong, with their next outing being at home against the Coachella Valley Firebirds this Friday.
While the future of the season isn't bright for Henderson, it's all about improvement and growth for these final games.
Although it is the off-season for the NFL, the free agency opened up on March 13th, in which unrestricted free agents can begin meeting and negotiating with other teams other than their own. With all the details on what's been happening, we have Wyatt Touche.
NFL free agency is here, and its madness is felt everywhere. Signings, trades, franchise tagging, and lack thereof have been the focus of the offseason before the NFL draft. Here's a look at some of the biggest moves. 4-time Pro Bowl offensive tackle Orlando Brown signs a 4-year, $64 million contract with the Cincinnati Bengals. This contract includes a $31 million signing bonus, and this is the best move in all of free agency because the Bengals front office addresses the notorious issues in protecting Joe Burrow, which one could argue cost them a Super Bowl a year ago. Now, Miami trades for a 3-time All-Pro cornerback Jalen Ramsey from the Rams for only a 3rd rounder and a 3rd-string tight end. This now forms one of, if not the best corner group on paper in the league. And still sticking in the South, New Orleans lands former Raiders quarterback Derek Carr on a 4-year, $150 million deal that gives him $100 million in total contractual guarantees. And even contenders stay busy. San Francisco makes a major move to improve one of the best defenses with one of the best interior defensive linemen. Defensive tackle Javon Hargrave signs a 4-year, $84 million contract with 40 of that guaranteed. And finally, a struggling Chicago franchise has found their heartbeat on the defensive end by signing Bills linebacker Tremaine Edmonds to a 4-year, $72 million deal that includes $50 guaranteed. The Bears front office has proven so far they're absolutely one of the winners in free agency. Originally under loads of scrutiny, this Bears front office, led by Ryan Poles, filled in holes and turned weaknesses into strengths within a span of the first week of free agency. Chicago additions consist of Tremaine Edmonds, Deontay Murray, Andrew Billings, Travis Homer, Robert Tonyan, and star wide receiver DJ Moore, who was received in that blockbuster trade from Carolina. And that trade gave the Panthers the #1 pick in this year's draft. In addition to the #1 pick, Carolina made several key additions that has made them another free agency winner. The Panthers acquired Miles Sanders, Andy Dalton, Adam Thielen, Hayden Hurst, and of course, Von Bell. On top of the successful starts to free agency, both organizations have great draft capital in this year's draft. Chicago with 10 picks and Carolina with 6. When there are winners, of course, there are losers. So far, the Packers and Ravens are atop of this list because of their quarterback drama. Aaron Rodgers is on his way out and played his final game in Green Bay. Meanwhile, Lamar Jackson is in disdain as he is unhappy with his current talks of contract extensions. He feels his value is being undermined by the Baltimore front office and the media. We await to see how he moves forward, whether that is a Le'Veon Bell situation or he plays in spite of the disrespect. Green Bay and Baltimore also lost key pieces to their strong identities. Allen Lazard signed with the Jets, and the supposed trade for Rodgers to the Big Apple may not be as advantageous for the Green Bay Packers because it is similar to the situation we saw back in Washington with Trent Williams. Baltimore lost defensive cornerstones Chuck Clark and are expecting to lose Calais Campbell in return. Although many teams across the league are facing personal changes, no teams are dealing with a makeover like the Las Vegas Raiders. GM Dave Ziegler and head coach Josh McDaniels answer all concerns on who fills the vacant positions. The Raiders signed Jimmy G to a 3-year, $72.75 million deal. Additionally, the front office franchise tagged Josh Jacobs and made other impactful offseason moves this year. Pro Bowl tight end Darren Waller was traded to the Giants for a third-rounder, and that third-round pick was a 100th pick in this draft. The Raiders signed several veteran pieces, including safety Mark Epps and Jaquan Johnson, corners Brandon Faison and David Long Jr., receivers Philip Dorsett and Jacoby Myers, and tight end O.J. Howard and Austin Hooper. Alongside those 12 draft picks, Las Vegas in this year's draft, which includes the 7th overall pick, the team looks to acquire more pieces in order to find its way back into the postseason. Matter of fact, this morning the team signed former Vikings cornerback Duke Shelley. Front offices never sleep. Back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Wyatt. The NFL free agency has just begun, with more trades and negotiations expected as the NFL draft is approaching quickly.
Do you miss football? Well, now you can catch some indoor football action. Caden Mendiola brings us a look at the Las Vegas professional indoor football team, the Nighthawks.
Your Vegas Nighthawks are back for year 2 after coming off a 6-10 season last year. Some key players that are returning to the team from last year are UNLV product Gabe McCoy, Nevada born and raised Kalen Hicks, wide receiver Frank Brown, who led the team and league in receiving before his ACL injury, and running back Devontae Sapp Lynch, who led the team in rushing. Some key off moves that the Nighthawks made during the offseason were former IFL MVP DeQuan Neal, leading receiver from last year Quentin Randolph, and a former NFL running back Darius Guice. The team is also led by coach and general manager Mike Davis, who's the only coach/general manager in the IFL. You can catch their first game this Saturday at 7 p.m. against the Iowa Barnstormers.
Thank you for that, Caden, and we cannot wait to see them in action.
The Vegas Vipers returned home last Saturday to take on the Orlando Guardians, in which they fought hard to grab their first win of the season. Quarterback Luis Perez was the first starting QB to go the distance and bring home the result coach Rod Woodson had been looking for. Here's Duncan Dye with how the battle between both teams went in trying to get their first win of the season.
After the frustrating loss to the DC Defenders in Week 4, Luis Perez got the start after showing late promise for Vegas. Passing for 283 yards off the bench in relief of Brett Hundley, he made sure to show out as Rod Woodson gave him the nod. The Guardians scored first Saturday evening, forcing Perez and the offense to play comeback early. Perez found Jeff Badette for a 35-yard touchdown before converting the 2-point conversion. Jonathan Lovett then allowed the Vipers into the red zone for a follow-up touchdown of 3 yards to Sean Price. The Vipers would ultimately be up 17-6 in the half after another touchdown to Bailey Griffin. Orlando would score once more in the first half, but the home crowd was not yet worried. Leading 17-12, Vegas was ready to secure that first double this season. The momentum remained shifted in the Vipers' favor to start the second half. Rod Smith ran in for an early touchdown, giving them a 23-12 lead. It became back and forth when Orlando responded with a quick score on the following drive, but Rod Smith refused to let up, scoring from the 1-yard line again. Perez passed for 3 touchdowns and most notably put them ahead double digits again with one final scoring drive to Badet. With back-to-back multiple touchdown games for Perez, he sure is making a name for himself at this point in the season. Of course, the missing piece has been those victories. Quentin Dormady brought the game within 3 in the final minutes, but 2 key sacks by the Vegas defense helped prevent losing the late lead. The final 2 plays saw back-to-back penalties from the Guardians, killing the late comeback for Dormady. Orlando falls to 0-5 on the season as Vegas gets that first win in the column and look to keep it going.
Thank you, Duncan. The defense definitely stepped up when it mattered in the second half. The Vipers left that game with momentum they hope to build off the heading into the next week's game, in which they will be hosting the St. Louis Battlehawks at Cashman Field at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Saturday, March 25th.
Both UNLV men's and women's tennis teams took on some matchups at home in the Fertitta Tennis Complex. Here's Manny Garcia with all the details on this past weekend.
Thanks, Ethan. The rackets were sounding at the Fertitta Tennis Complex as the men and women's teams faced off against the Santa Clara Broncos and the Indiana Hoosiers, respectively, last Friday. The women's team went into the matches undefeated. The women were victorious in the doubles matchup. However, Indiana was able to defeat them in the singles round with a final score of 4-3, giving the ladies their first loss of the season. Later, it was the men's turns. They faced off against Santa Clara. The men's team were also triumphant in the doubles matchup. However, Santa Clara trounced UNLV in the singles round with a final score of 6-1. At the end of the day, both teams fell short of a win, but it was not because of a lack of ability to win. They proved that in the doubles round. It was in the singles round where their respective opponents were able to clinch a victory. The Rebels teams will be back serving March 24th and 25th against DCU and the Air Force Falcons, respectively. But for now, let's go back to the desk with Amber and Ethan.
Manny, we're excited to see the rest of the team's journey throughout their remaining season.
March Madness is one of the most anticipated times for basketball fans across the nation. Our panel of reporters discuss key and exciting events that have been happening so far.
It's March, the best time of the year for all the basketball lovers, and this panel is going to break down all the madness as it happened so far. I'm Jay Thomas, joined here by Jay Gucci, Q Wilson, and Jalen Hamilton. So let's start in. Our beloved Lady Rebels took on the 6th seed Michigan Wolverines, and they fell with a score of 71-59. What did you guys see in that game? What do you think happened?
Well, I think the level of competition really shocked them. I mean, you look at their strength of schedule. I mean, they hadn't played a single top 25 team all year, and so I'm not sure if that's a problem in the schedule makers or in the Lady Rebels themselves, but they went into that game and it kind of looked they were playing a bit scared because, I mean, they hadn't played this level of competition, and it really showed in this game.
Yeah, and then banking off what Jake was saying, it also showed in their defense as well. Defensive rotations, they were lost and just lack of communication. And first they started off in a man, and that seemed to not work. So Coach LaRock switched to a 2-3 zone, and it still didn't work. And just lack of communication, and Michigan was able to capitalize off that and make their open shots.
I know that the key thing to turn on was Desiree got into foul trouble very early. We started off really slow, but then in the second half we started to pick it up. But at that time it was too late, and then Michigan got on the run, and they just kept going.
Yeah, and just to add on that, Michigan has 12 players on their roster who are 6 feet and over, so that's definitely also another thing. You know, they were lanky and long. But moving on to the men's side of the madness, have been a lot of upsets so far. To name a few, 16-seed FDU beat 1-seed Purdue, and coming in, they were 0-11 in their conference, and they happened to get into the NCAA tournament because the team that won their conference is ineligible to go dancing this year because of the 4-year rule. And then number 15 seed Princeton beat 2 seed Arizona and then went on to beat the 7 seed Missouri, and Arkansas 8 seed took down 1 seed Kansas. So those are just to name a few of them, but what are you guys seeing in these games so far?
Well, I mean, it's like we said before. I mean, March is madness. This is something that happens every year. Upsets are to be expected. I mean, not every team slotted seed 1, 2, 3, 4 or not. It doesn't matter. If a team wants to win, they're going to win. And it really showed in the FDU and Purdue game. FDU really came out and really knocked Purdue in the mouth. And that's just what happens in these type of games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and also it's just about what team wants it the most and who wants to, get the win at the end of the day. And FDU really stepped up, and especially off their bench, they had 16 bench points. Players who may not get as much touches, they stepped up. And they did a really good job of containing Purdue's top player, Zach Edey. He had 21 points. I mean, he's 7'4", so he's going to get his buckets. But, they did a really good job of containing him and making sure they kept the lead.
FDU is also the shortest team in March Madness, which gives the definition of heart over height. And also another game to point out is Furman and Virginia. IQ is really important, especially in March Madness. So, like, you had a timeout and you just randomly just throw the ball. So, and with that loss, Virginia hasn't won a game of March Madness since 2019. So that's another thing to point out. So it doesn't matter where you're ranked. It's about IQ, defense, and role players.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. Virginia has not been very nice to my bracket these past few years. But moving on to the women's side, there aren't as many upsets, but the upsets have been key. 8 seed Ole Miss beat number 1 seed Stanford, and yesterday 9 seed Miami beat 1 seed Indiana. So what are you guys seeing on that side?
Yeah, so for that Ole Miss game, Ole Miss started off really strong. The first half, they really, showed that they were here to play, and they went into the second half leading with 9 points, and they shot 45% from 3. And Stanford went on a run in the second half, but just wasn't enough to, get the dub.
Angel Baker stood out for me for Ole Miss. She had 19 points. Stanford is a very strong team, but they just fell a little short.
Yeah, I agree. And watching those games, it kind of seemed, Stanford's always very smart and everything, but it definitely felt like they got out-muscled, out-hustled. Like you said, hustle over height. Heart over height. Tomato. But with so many bracket busters and upsets, there are no perfect brackets left. None. So how are your guys' brackets looking, and what do you guys have predictions moving forward? And just a disclaimer, I do not have any brackets that are paid for money, and I hope that you guys do your brackets responsibly and pick wisely. So, guys, what are you seeing?
Well, I would say my bracket was busted after Arizona lost. So, but I still have Houston winning it all. I really like what Houston brings to the table. They still have Marcus Sasser, Tremont Mark. They still have guys that could really put the ball in the basket. And so, I would say, unofficially, Houston is my pick to win it all, but that's all I'm going to say there.
Okay.
I would say my pick would be the Texas Longhorns. The last game, they really showed that they play as a team, and defensively, defense wins champions, as we all know, and they do a great job of that. And their star forward, Dylan Dessou, who had 25 points in his last game, I think he's going to be a real big key of, getting to that home stretch.
Okay, well, my bracket was busted because of Purdue, sadly. But, my winner is Gonzaga. With the help of Drew Timme and Las Vegas native Julian Strother, experience, and their coach well, so I think they'll pull it out.
I'm actually going with Alabama, so it's kind of interesting. It shows how crazy it is that we all have different picks, but they play SDSU, so Mountain West love, but I'm sorry, but I need Alabama to win that for my bracket so I can be number 1 in my family's bracket thing. But yeah, it kind of just shows how crazy it is and how unpredictable it is. So, may the best team win. But coming up this week on March 23rd and 25th, we are going to have the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8 held here at T-Mobile in Vegas. So we'll have more coverage on your games for that. But until then, thank you for tuning in.
Thank you, guys.
With the transfer portal now open, many collegiate basketball athletes are looking for a change of scenery, and that remains true for those that were a part of UNLV men's basketball team. Just within the past week, 3 Running Rebels announced that they had entered the portal. Sophomore guard Keyshawn Gilbert announced his departure on Monday. Gilbert started 29 games this past season and averaged 11 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and nearly 2 steals a game. Freshman guard Keyshawn Hall enters the portal after appearing in 18 games and averaging 5 points on 50% from beyond the arc this past season. And finally, senior forward Victor Iwaka also entered the portal. Iwaka started 8 games this past season, averaging 3 points and 3 rebounds per game. We wish the best for these 3 and thank them for their hard work and dedication to the Scarlet and Gray.
The UNLV softball team finally returned back home at Ellert Media Stadium after a long road trip. The Rebels took on Boise State in their first conference series of the year. It was a low-scoring back-and-forth first game on Friday night. The Rebels struck in the bottom of the fourth when April Visser hit a 2-run homer to put UNLV out front 2-1. Boise State then came out swinging in the sixth, scoring 3 runs, and the Broncos eventually held on to win 4-3. Game 2 took place on Saturday afternoon, and Boise State jumped out early and never looked back. The Broncos would also take Game 2, winning 10-0. The Rebels would try to salvage a game on Sunday's series finale. Both teams traded runs in the first 2 innings, and a Lauren Barker single in the bottom half of the first 2 plated to bring UNLV to within 1. However, Boise State's offense proved to be too much for the Rebels as they dropped the finale, losing 17-7. UNLV is back into action tomorrow night as they travel up north to take on the Wolfpack in a 3-game rivalry series. First pitch will be at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Major League Baseball returned to Las Vegas for the second time this past weekend when the Colorado Rockies and Kansas City Royals came to town for Part 2 of the Big League Weekend at Las Vegas Ballpark. Kansas City and Colorado split the 2-game series, with the Royals taking Game 1 by a score of 8-5, and the Rockies coming back to shut out the Royals 7-0 in a rain-shortened Game 2. Major League Baseball continues to be a major draw for locals and tourists to Sin City, with the 2-day attendance reaching close to 16,000 attendees, just shy of the total set by the A's and Reds a few weeks prior. While scores during spring training are often forgotten, the continued buzz around Las Vegas becoming a potential full-time home for an MLB team stays fresh in everyone's mind. Hall of Famer George Brett and Las Vegas native Chris Bryant offered their thoughts on the possibility of the Oakland A's relocating to Vegas.
I think the Oakland A's should come here. I was talking to some guys over here earlier, and I said, what affiliate is this? Is this Oakland? They said, yeah. I said, man, if I was in the Oakland organization, I'd rather play AAA than big leagues.
I think it's definitely happening. I don't know if they've announced anything, but no, I think it's great just because, you see what the Raiders are doing and, the Knights, and you see this place. This place is awesome. I think it's done really well. And, putting a place somewhere down on the Strip, I think will do even better. So I'm all in favor of it, and hopefully I'm still playing by the time they actually do build it.
All eyes now shift to the current Nevada legislative session to see if the potential for Chris Bryant playing in a Las Vegas uniform may one day be a real possibility.
The World Series Classic, an international baseball tournament filled with MLB players all representing their countries. 2017 marked the last time the world came together for some baseball. It finally returned this year, and it was nothing short of excitement, with all teams coming out with bursts of energies in hopes to win it all. The final was earlier this week, concluding this Tuesday between Team USA and Japan. Here's how it went down. Japan defeated the United States 3-2 to win their third World Baseball Classic in a nail-biter from start to finish. Japan capped off their undefeated tournament run against the highly talented United States, who were favored to win between the two. After multiple solo home runs by both early on, their destiny came down in the final inning, with Japan needing 1 out and the U.S. down 1. Los Angeles Angels teammate Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani, arguably the 2 best ball players in the world, faced off in a baseball fanatic's dream. Matchup ending with Ohtani striking out, Trout giving viewers truly a classic for World Baseball Classic history. Ohtani would go out to win and be named the World Baseball Classic MVP. The World Baseball Classic will return in 2026, according to MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred. Until then, look forward to the MLB starting season on March 30th.
Now, we told you at the beginning of the show we have some incredibly special guests. The Rebel Girls and Company are going back to the ICU World Championships as the U.S. National Hip Hop Team. We have our reporter Riley Pay with the reigning world champions to give us a deep look into the special team.
By Cassidy, Bitsy, and Abinet, 3 members of the UNLV Rebel Girls and Company. Thank you all so much for being in studio with us today.
Thank you for having us.
Well, first off, just a huge congratulations to you all again for a remarkable nationals run this season, coming home with national titles in both UNA Game Day and Hip Hop. And this is a program that is nationally renowned, bringing back titles year after year to UNLV. So what kind of goes into the preparation for you guys as you begin your nationals run?
Awesome. So our practices, we practice every day, 7 days a week, 8 hours a day, basically pretty much sun up to sundown to get ready. During that winter break when everybody goes home, we stay at the school and we practice consistently. It kind of takes a lot of dedication and determination from all of us and just that genuine heart and the love for the sport and the art to get us to where we want to be and leave an impact on that stage.
Awesome. And now the game day category was only created a few years ago today, but this program has taken the title 5 of the 6 years that it has been a category. So how has that established a sense of dominance and success for you guys, not only as a team, but also as the university?
Well, when we go to competition every year, we really try to just make sure that we're representing UNLV and Las Vegas as much as we can as a community. We try to bring something new to the stage every year as well. So in past years, we've brought our band, and then we do not have a mascot anymore like some schools do. So this year we brought Elvis to the stage, which was a big hit by one of our freshmen, JJ. So it's really just trying to not be other schools, but to be our true selves and represent Las Vegas as a whole.
And now, talking about your hip-hop routine this year as well, it was entitled Forgot About Dre. So what is the overall message for your hip-hop routine this year?
Forgot About Dre means a lot to not only myself, but my teammates. It's about our program. We built it from the ground up. Our coaches, Marsa, Franco, Brandy, Gage, Jackie, they deserve a lot of credit because they come in daily and push us to be the best dancers, but most importantly, humans we can be, as well as students. And that's what Forgot About Dre is really about, is representing UNLV and our program the best we can.
And so you've also secured your national titles already, but the season for you guys is far from over as you prepare to take the world stage again for the 2nd year in a row and defend your title there as well. So how special is it to be able to represent the U.S. on the national stage as the hip-hop collegiate team?
So Worlds is an incredible experience that a lot of us are fortunate enough to get to experience twice, and for some it's their first time. It's already so amazing to get to experience something on the collegiate level, so to get to do that on an international level and share a sport with the world is something that we don't always have the opportunity to do, so we're super grateful. It looks a lot the same thing preparing for competition season at the collegiate level is the same at the international. It's just that same dedication and prolonging our season to go even further and strive for greatness.
Well, congratulations to you guys again. We have a little clip of their nationals routine, Forgot About Dre, that we're going to play for you guys right now for the national champs.
Too broke, police, try to walk it off. Forget you too, yeah, call the cops. I'ma you and all them. Forgot about Dre. You get slim shady, sometimes I've been crazy and no, you cannot save me. It's okay, go live, brand. Nowadays everybody wanna talk, they got something to say, but when it comes out, they want to listen. Forgot about Dre.
And while the Spirit Squads cheer for the rest of the university's teams all season long, this is the opportunity for you guys to kind of have that support and compete for the university as well. So how can people support you as you head off to Worlds in a couple weeks?
Well, this next Saturday, April 1st, we have our USA Showdown. During the winter, we usually have our regular national send-off showdown, but this one's a little extra special because we're not only representing UNLV, but also our country as a whole. And so tickets are $25 online or $10 for students. You can find the link at our website, unlvrebelgirls.com. Also, we have our Rebel Raiser going on right now. We are part of athletics, but we're not traditionally funded like our athletic teams here, so we're trying to really fundraise to help even get us to that world stage, and we did it last year with the help and support of our community, and we're just trying to do that again.
Well, thank you guys so much for being here in studio with us again. On behalf of Rebel Report, we wish you all the luck as you head and take on the world stage again, and thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
Back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you, Riley, and to the Rebel Girls and company for showing all their best dance moves. To help our Rebels and their journey to the World Championships, go to rebelraiser.unlv.edu to donate.
And that's all that we have for you today. Make sure to keep up with us on social media at Rebel Report UNLV on Instagram and Twitter.
We wish you the best of luck on your midterms, and remember to be back next Thursday at the same time and same place, March 30th, for episode 7 of the Rebel Report.